Let's talk about our elevations. We may have these blue lines in here that are basically giving us information about our story levels. If you remember back to design story settings, we've got these levels in here. So if I change this height to next here to 15 feet, going up to 25 feet elevation here, so we're going from 0 to 10 to 25 story settings. So you can see that ArchiCAD and our elevations is trying to give us a cue as to our elevations with regards to our stories, but this is maybe kind of distracting to us. So let's go ahead and turn these off. If you go to Project Map, this one here, I'm going to select the first elevation, hold down Shift, and select the last one. That's going to select all the elevations. I'm going to right click over these actually. Let's go into we might have to do this one at a time. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like it. Unfortunately. Let's right click over one of these elevation settings, and it's going to bring up this dialog box here. Let me kind of bring these menus back up. What we're interested in is under Model Display. Actually, it's under Story Levels here. It says Display Only, meaning we're only displaying our blue lines in the background over here, these guys over here. If we say Display and Output, they will print out if we say Display and Output. But we're just going to say None. And that's going to make these disappear. And so for each of these elevations, I'll just go into Elevation Settings, Story Levels, None, click OK. We'll go on to the next one, Elevation Settings, Display Only, we're going to say None, click OK, and you can even double click on these. Let's right click, Elevation Settings, None. So let's make sure we're OK on all these. You can see those levels are now gone. Now, we probably want that information actually, but we don't really want it the way ArchiCAD was displaying it. We want to do a little bit better than that. So here's how we can do this. Go into an elevation and go into the line tool. So go under Document and go down to Line. Let me expand this out. So we're in the Line tool. And we could go into maybe a medium-sized line here, this third one here. This is going to be, so you can see that this is a 0.3 millimeter line. And what we can now do is, let's just go click, I'm going to click on the, let's see, it's asking us to show a layer here. That's a good idea. Let's choose maybe the ArchiCAD layer. This is one of those instances when we're inside of an elevation, we can annotate on the ArchiCAD layer, because this view here is not going to sort of transpose onto another view. So it's alright if we use a layer that we can't turn off, such as the ArchiCAD layer. And I'm just going to drop a line in here just to start out with. Just a simple old line. And I'm going to select the line. And one thing I could do is right away turn it to be a dashed line. And the next thing I can do is we can go over here and we can say, we can put an arrowhead on this line. We can just click here and, well, arrowhead's on the wrong side. Let me go over here and click on this one. Now the arrowhead's to the right here. But I don't like the shape of this arrowhead. What I sort of want is sort of a elevation benchmark symbol. So this is a little hard to see over here. Not sure if we can get this. Let me try to bring this over. So you can see we're up in the info box here. This is where we changed it to have the arrowhead on here. And here's the shape of the arrowhead. Let's maybe make it this shape. And furthermore, you guys can barely see this on the screen here. Let's change this to be maybe an 8 or even larger. Let's make it a 12 point. And return back to our scene here. Push our info box back up again, and I'll draw another line here, maybe just extending out just like so. Now what I could do is I could use the text tool here. Let's kind of zoom in. 9-point font, yeah, that'll work. We could even use maybe an 8 or something like that. I'm going to draw a text box in here, and I'm going to draw in some text. And I'm going to just say capital F dot capital F stands for finished floor. And let me kind of position this here. Actually, I'm going to double click and go back in here, and I'm going to hit return. And I'll say 0 feet dash 0 inches. And I'm going to move this text box up to be centered right on that symbol there. So what we've done here is we've sort of annotated a level here. We could measure the height of this wall here. Let's go from the bottom up to the top, 12'6", and we could select this whole thing here by left-clicking, drawing a window over, and selecting all these items. Right-click, say Move, drag a copy, and I'm just going to click, hold down Shift, and that's how we can constrain. And now we've got another line up here, but instead of finished floor, we could call this top of parapet wall. And if your text starts to wrap like this, remember we can kind of select a node in here and rescale this text box so that our text does not have to wrap over onto itself. The top of the parapet wall is not 0 feet 0 inches. I believe it's 12 feet 6 inches. So now that we got these guys, we can select these guys, right-click, copy, and we could go into, say, the north elevation here. Right-click and say paste. It gives us this dialog box. Center of current view. No, I'll say, well, sure, why not? Center of current view, paste. And now that we've got our marching ants around here, that's sort of ready to be moved. So I'm just going to left-click, maybe hover over this edge here. Maybe we'll click right on it. Maybe we'll move it back just a hair. And we could also copy this again. Remember, move, drag a copy. And I could click right on the end here, hold down Shift, and maybe match to our windows here, not to the trim, but to the actual window. And what I'm going to do here is call this head height. We've got top of parapet wall, head height. We could even select this line, stretch it all the way through our windows here. Remember, angle 180 would be nice. So we're just sort of annotating things about heights. Now you can call out other things. We could be adding window symbols. We could be adding notes. We could write a note in here about the finish of this wall, or maybe there's some columns or something in the background here we're talking about. If you think there's something important in your elevations and that information needs to be conveyed in the elevation, this is the perfect place to do it, inside of the view here. Actually, we're not inside the view, we're inside the project map. But if we go look at our views, you can see north elevation. This same information is inside of our views. Anything that's added to our project map will end up in our views as long as those layers are turned on.